Donald Trump has claimed that North Koreans held in the regime's gulags were among today's winners as he heaped praise on Kim Jong-Un. In language that struck many as appearing close to gushing, the US president said the North Korean leader is very talented. As apparent evidence of this, he pointed to Mr. Kim's rise to power while he was still in his 20s. Asked if was betraying the tens of thousands of prisoners held in the country's forced labor camps, he said, "Not much I can do right now. I think at a certain point he's going to do something about it." He added, I think they are one of the great winners today, that large group of people that you're talking about. I think ultimately they are going to be one of the great winners as a group. Earlier, the US leader had said he wanted to thank Chairman Kim for taking the first bold step towards a bright new future for his people. On a day when human rights campaigners used the occasion of the summit to highlight North Korea's notoriously poor record on the treatment of its citizens, the US president was asked to explain why he believed the 34-year-old leader was very talented. He responded, "Well, he is very talented. Anybody that takes over a situation like he did at 26 years of age and is able to run it tough. I don't say it was nice, or I don't say anything about it, very few people at that age. You can take 1 out of 10,000, probably." Singapore Summit. Historic first meeting between Trump and Kim Jong-un. 20 Show All Singapore Summit. Historic first meeting between Trump and Kim Jong-un. 1/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim leave following their historic meeting. AFP Getty 2/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim sign a document committing to peace between their nations, amongst other things. EPA 3/20th Mr. Trump holds up a document that both he and Mr. Kim have signed. AFP Getty 4/20th The two leaders reach out to shake hands for the first time. AP 5/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim shake hands as they meet for the first time. Reuters 6/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim walk off stage following their historic meeting. Reuters 7/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim take a stroll after their meeting on June 12th. Reuters 8/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim interrupt their stroll to talk to the media. AP 9/20th Mr. Kim and Mr. Trump look out over a balcony at the Capella Hotel, where they held their meeting on June 12th. Reuters 10/20th Mr. Trump takes questions at the press conference following his meeting with Mr. Kim. AP 11/20th Mr. Trump appreciates the crowd in the press conference following his meeting with Mr. Kim. Getty 12/20th Mr. Trump travels to the Astana ahead of the summit with Kim Jong-un on June 12th. Reuters 13/20th Kim Jong-un travels to the Astana ahead of the summit with President Trump on June 12th. Reuters 14/20th Mr. Kim poses for a photo with Singapore's Finance Minister Vivian Balakrishnan and Education Minister Ong Ye Kung ahead of the summit with Mr. Trump. Twitter. Reuters 15/20th Mr. Trump shakes hands with Singapore Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, meeting on Monday, June 11th in the Astana, Singapore's presidential palace. AP 16/20th At a working lunch on Monday, Singapore's Prime Minister surprised Mr. Trump with a birthday cake, an early celebration of his 72nd birthday. Later in the week. EPA 17/20th U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo answered questions about the summit at a press briefing in Singapore on Monday, June 11th. Getty 18/20th U.S. President Donald Trump arrives at the Paya Lebar Air Base in Singapore on June 10th. 2 days prior to his summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Reuters 19/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim met on Tuesday, June 12th in the Capella Hotel on the island resort of Sentosa, just off the south coast of Singapore. AFP Getty 20/20th Mr. Trump boards Air Force One following the summit. AFP Getty. While the US leader appeared to be at best casual about the implications of celebrating an authoritarian leader suspected of ordering the public assassination of his half-brother with a nerve agent, executing his uncle by firing squad and allowing US college student Otto Warmbier to fall into an irreversible coma, Mr. Trump said without Mr. Warmbier's death, his meeting with Mr. Kim may not have happened. He said, Otto did not die in vain. Mr. Trump said the issue of human rights did come up during the talks, albeit briefly. It was discussed relatively briefly compared to the denuclearization, but they will be doing things. I think he wants to do things. He said he believed that, while they had touched on human rights, the issue would be raised again as the two countries continued their dialogue. I think he wants to get it done. I feel that very strongly, he added. Phil Robertson, Deputy Director of Human Rights Watch's Asia Division, said there was not a trace of human rights mentioned in the document signed by the two leaders. If there is nothing in writing, it does not exist, he said. Trump can say they discussed it, but we don't know. He said there was a network of different prison camps in North Korea, including short-term and long-term labor camps. He said there was also a separate category for political prisoners, considered traitors, who were sent to the mountains. He said there believed to be between 100,000 and 120,000 such political prisoners. These are people who are sent there and worked to death, he said.